In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Viltrox speed booster that we use on the Canon M50. If you don't know what a speed booster is or why you would want one, I'm going to explain it to you in this video, so stick around. Okay, today we're going to talk about my M50, what a speed booster is, and how these different adapters work on the camera. So the Canon M50 is a mirrorless camera, which means the sensor is right there, right here near the lens mount. On a DSLR, it's set back a little bit because the mirror needs to have room to move. And what that does is it creates a space between the sensor and the back of the lens. The mirrorless camera does not have that. So this is a Canon M series lens that mounts natively to this camera. It snaps right on, and this is how it looks. Canon has, I think, about 6 or 7 of these M mount lenses, but they have a huge collection of EF and EFS lenses. What they were nice enough to do is create this adapter. This is a Canon adapter that works on M mount cameras. So I take my Canon M50 and I put this on it, and now I've created that space that the mirrorless camera does not have, and I'm able to mount any EF or EFS mount lens to this camera. It doesn't have to be Canon either. It can be from other brands that are made for Canon. So this has no glass in it. It's basically just it's an adapter. All the electronics work through it. It has all the contact points, so your autofocus, all your metering, everything works the way it should. So you'll get a very good user experience using this. When I put this on and I take a regular Canon EF mount 50mm lens and put it on here, now I have an 85mm lens. Why? Well, this is a crop sensor. So just like any other camera that uses a crop sensor, it basically only uses a portion of the lens's view. And that effectively zooms the lens, and you get a different focal length than what the lens is made for. So this is a 50mm lens. On this camera, it's about 80mm. If I was using a 24-70, that would work out to be roughly a 36 to 110, something like that. So it basically magnifies your focal length. If you want to use full frame glass on this camera, you can. With this adapter, it's not a problem. You can use any of those lenses, but you have to take into account the crop factor. So there's a way around that. And that's what a speed booster is. Okay, this is a company, Viltrox, makes this one. And this is different than the regular adapter in that there's an actual piece of glass in between here. And what it does is it focuses or magnifies what your lens, it reduces the lens circle or the image circle down to completely cover the smaller sensor. So when I put this on and then I mount the same 50mm lens on here, it's now a 50mm lens on here. It's a little bit off because it's not exactly a 1-to-1 crop factor. It's a little bit different, but it's about the same. It's maybe 55mm, something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of math and numbers involved in all this, and I just know that it's pretty close to a 50mm. So if I put, the other video I did when I was in Lancaster, I had Eric's 24-70 with me the whole weekend, and on this camera, it was roughly a 24-70 on here, which was great. I had the full field of view of that lens. When I use the regular adapter, it kind of zooms it out a little bit. So that's why you would want to use a speed booster on here. And another benefit is the glass elements that are in there, because they're focusing down the light that's coming in, it actually makes it brighter. So you gain a stop of light. So this lens, wide open, is a 1.8 lens. It's a 50mm 1.8. With the speed booster on it, it becomes a 1.2. So if you have an f4 lens on here, it becomes an f2.8, and so on. So that's another benefit of this. I don't believe it changes the depth of field, but it does add more light. So this is great if you're shooting in low light situations, or you have an f4 lens and you want to let some more light in. Maybe you're shooting indoors. So it definitely has some great uses for that in low light situations. So with the speed booster on here, I have access to Canon's L series lenses at their actual focal length. So I could borrow, any of Eric's lenses, those, really expensive, nice lenses that he has. But if I'm going to buy my own lens for this camera, would I do that? Would I go buy a Canon 16-35 for over $1,000 to use on this camera for my landscape shots? I wouldn't, and I didn't, and I'll tell you why. Instead, what I did is, because I have both of these adapters, there are some really good lenses that are built for smaller sensors. They're crop sensor, APS-C size lenses. And because I have the adapter that lets me use them on the M50, I bought this Tokina 11-16 for a little over $300, used this adapter here, and now when I mount it to my M50, I have what is effectively a 16-24. And crop sensor lenses, or lenses that are built for crop sensors, usually take this into account. That's why this is an 11-16. And on a full frame camera, that's a super wide lens. But on a crop sensor, it's a perfect landscape lens. And this is a f2.8 constant aperture lens, sharp as a tack, really, really good lens, well reviewed. And it was a little over $300. This is a great way to not break the bank, get really good glass, and have a much smaller camera system to use. And then with the speed booster, I still have the ability, if I want to borrow one of Eric's lenses, or maybe I want to rent one, or maybe I do want to buy like a real 70-200 to have in my bag for the situations when I'd want it. And with the speed booster, I'll be able to use it at 70-200 instead of 120-300. Maybe that's a little too long for me. But with the Canon adapter, I can use it that way also. So with these two adapters, you're basically doubling the versatility of your lens collection, as long as it's a full frame lens. With the crop sensor lenses, you're basically locked into whatever that lens's focal length is. But if you do have full frame glass already, it's great because you can use it with either adapter. You'll have two separate focal ranges for each lens. I know it's confusing. Ask any questions in the comments. We'd be happy to try to straighten this out for you. But if you're thinking about the M50, I would say the Viltrox Speed Booster is a worthwhile investment. I think I paid about $150 for mine. Here's the one thing I will tell you about this, and I tested it twice to make sure. And I'm not really sure why this happens, but when I leave this on the camera, so if I have the Speed Booster on the camera with a lens on it, turn it off and put it in my bag, when I come back to my camera the next day, my battery in the camera is dead. So this must have a small draw from the battery when it's connected. I don't know if the electronics are pulling, but when I leave the regular Canon adapter on, my batteries are fine. So this does have it is drawing on the battery, and I've heard this before with this adapter. So just know that. So if you're using it and shooting with it, and then it's the end of the day, take it off the camera, put it in your bag, put your other lenses on it, just however you want to store your camera. Just don't leave it sit for a day, 2, 3, 4 days. You're going to come back to your camera and your battery's going to be dead. All right, so just know that. Okay, hope this video helped you out a little bit, straighten this out. If you have any questions, ask them. We'll be happy to answer them. Remember to give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel, click the little notification bell if you want to get notified anytime we upload a new video. And we will see you in the next one.